Somebody better call Triff, because Pendulum just got some good new support. Hey guys, Otaker back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the brand new archetype revealed for the Phantom Revengers deck building set, Enneacraft. So, a couple weeks ago, we talked about the reveal of the Hecka Hands archetype that was revealed for Phantom Revenge, and that was one of 3. So, Konami has finally dropped the second archetype, and it's also pretty powerful. So Konami revealed that the Phantom Revenge archetypes is 1 fusion, 1 flip effect, and 1 synchro deck, and this time around we are looking at the flip effects, which just also so happens to be Pendulum monsters. Before we do jump on into the archetype reveal though, I have noticed that a great deal of you that watch my videos are not currently subscribed to the channel, so if you like competitive based content, in-depth guides, and market watches, consider subscribing to the channel. But also, don't forget to leave a like on this video and comment down below your thoughts on the Enneacraft. And if you would like to further support the channel, consider joining my community Discord, following me over on Twitch, and using my TCG affiliate link and my Dueling Guard affiliate link. All links will be in the description down below. Alright, so let's jump into it, because there is, I believe, 10 cards that got revealed for this archetype, and yeah, it's a lot, and because they're Pendulum monsters, there's a lot of words on these cards. So as per usual, I have already read these cards. These are very strong and have a lot of potential, and we'll get into it a little bit down the road, but I do think this has a lot of potential to be a tier 0 deck, just based on a few key details. First card we're going to be looking at, though, is Enneacraft Proto Orgia. It's an Earth Machine Pendulum Flip Effect monster, a scale 0, 100 attack, 1000 defense. You can only use the second Pendulum effect of this card's name once per turn. The first is, each time a monster is flipped face up, place a Sin Investigating counter on this card. They all have a effect where they get a counter of some kind. There's 2 different counters. One of them is Sin Investigating. We'll get into the other one momentarily. The second effect is, you can pay 900 life points and reveal 3 Enneacraft cards in your deck. Your opponent randomly picks one of them, and you can add that card to your hand. Also, shuffle the rest into the deck. As for the monster effects, you can reveal this card in your hand, special summon 1 monster from your hand in face down defense position. You cannot special summon during the turn you activate this effect, except in face down defense position. So, one thing to note here is it just says special summon a monster. Doesn't even have to be the card that you're revealing. It doesn't even have to be an Enneacraft. Just special summon a monster. The second effect is when your opponent activates a monster effect in hand. Quick effect, you can change this face down card to face up defense position, add 1 Enneacraft card from deck to your hand. And the third effect is, if this card is flipped face up, destroy 1 monster your opponent controls. All right, so there is going to be a trend, and it's going to save us a lot of time about talking about these cards. To start, they all have the effect that you can reveal them and then special summon 1 monster in your hand into face down defense position, and then you're hard locked into special summoning unless you're summoning in face down defense position. And then, like I said, the first Pendulum effect is that in some way, shape, or form, they get a counter when a monster is flipped face up. As for everything else, they all share a trend where if your opponent does X thing, then they can flip face up and do Y. And then the third effect is always something unique to them being flipped face up. The second monster is Enneacraft Proto Alazone IA. Another Earth Machine, level 1 flip Pendulum monster, 100 attack, 1000 defense. The first Pendulum effect is a little different. So instead of the investigation counter, it gets a salvation counter. All are relevant in some way, shape, or form. There are going to be about half of these getting the investigation counter and the other half getting salvation counters. The second Pendulum effect is, you can pay 900 life points, reveal 3 Enneacraft monsters from your deck. Your opponent chooses one of them at random to add to your hand. Also, after that, shuffle the remaining into the deck. The first monster effect is the special summon effect. The second effect is when your opponent activates a card/effect with an effect that includes to add cards from deck to hand. Quick effect, you can change this face down defense position monster to face up defense position and add 1 Enneacraft card from deck to hand. And then the flip effect is, you can banish 1 card from your opponent's hand at random until the end phase. Next is Enneacraft Etch Tromarl A. It's once again a Earth Machine level 1 Pendulum flip, 100 attack, 1000 defense, scale 0. And then this also, again, has the same Pendulum effects. Instead of revealing 3 Enneacraft monsters, this reveals 3 Enneacraft cards, and then your opponent adds 1 randomly, and you put the rest into the deck. The first effect of the monster effect is, once again, the special summon. The second effect is when your opponent activates a card or effect that includes an effect to special summon. you can change this face down defense position monster to face up defense position, add one Enneacraft card from deck to hand. And then the third effect is, if this card is flipped face up, negate the effects of one effect monster your opponent controls until the end of the turn. Enneacraft Proto Aknurl, I'm probably slaughtering all these. Once again, the Pendulum effect is basically the same. This gets salvation counters. The last one was getting investigation. And then when you pay the 800, you can reveal 3 monsters. Your opponent adds one at random. So the ones that are giving salvation counters basically will reveal 3 monsters, and your opponent adds one at random. The ones that do investigation counters can add any card or reveal 3 cards, and your opponent adds one at random. The second monster effect is when your opponent activates a card effect from the graveyard or banishment. Quick effect, you can change this face down defense position card to face up defense position, add an Enneacraft card from your deck to your hand, and flip effect is shuffle up to 3 cards from your opponent's graveyard and or banishment into the deck. Time to move into the big ones. Enneacraft Isa Leon. It's a level 9 light machine pendulum flip effect. It's 3k attack, 2500 defense. The Pendulum effect is still pretty much the same for the first effect, where it gets a Sin Investigating counter. The second Pendulum effect, however, is different. At the end of the battle phase, if you have an Enneacraft monster in your Pendulum zone, you can target one monster your opponent controls with an attack lower than this card and destroy it. The first monster effect is still the same. The second monster effect is when your opponent activates a card or effect in response to the activation of your card or effect. Quick effect, you can change this face down defense monster to face up and return up to 3 cards on the field to the hand. The third effect is each time an opponent's card is added to their hand by card effect, while you control this flipped face up card, inflict 900 damage to your opponent. Not once a turn, so if you flip this card face up, for the rest of the turn, if your opponent adds a card to their hand by card effect in any way, shape, or form, boom, you're burning them for 9. So I can already, just with this card alone, see like a pseudo FTK, because what you do is like you set this guy, and then if your opponent at any point activates like Bualos or Perulia, right? And then you do more of your combo and they respond to one of your effects, you flip this guy face up, return some cards to the hand, and then your opponent then is under your mercy, where you can just keep making them draw cards and then you burn them for 900. Like, I can see like a pseudo FTK with this deck, which kind of scares me because it's fairly consistent. Then we have Enneacraft Asta Pixia. It's another light machine, level 9, 3k attack, 2500 defense, pendulum flip monster. It's the one that gets the salvation counter, and at the end of the battle phase, if you have a Enneacraft monster in your other pendulum zone, target one monster your opponent controls with an attack lower than this card, destroy it. So the same 2 pendulum effects. Still has the same summon effect from hand as the first effect, and then the second effect is when a card you control is targeted by an opponent's card or effect, you can change this face down defense position monster to face up defense position, negate that effect, then you can banish face down 1 card from your opponent's hand at random. So this deck has essentially 2 hand rips, which is pretty scary. Third effect is your opponent cannot target cards on the field and or in graveyards with card effects while you control this flipped face up card. So that third effect is like Saint Azamina, but on steroids, because Saint Azamina is the only card that can't be targeted, whereas this says you can't target cards anywhere on the field or in the graveyard or the banishment as long as it's face up, which is kind of like, for some decks, a pseudo floodgate. I'm going to slaughter this one, but Enneacraft Atori Mar, light machine, level 9, pendulum flip effect monster, 3k attack, 2500 defense. This is the face boss monster of the archetype, as we see on like the packaging of the set. It's the Sin Investigating counter one, and again, the same battle phase gimmick if it's in the pendulum zone. Same monster effect to summon from hand. The second effect is during your turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect on the field. Quick effect, you can change the position of this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So this is like the big one. This is the one that is an Omni, essentially, as long as they're activating it on your turn. Keep that in mind. It's not just in general. Third effect is if this card is flipped face up, change all monsters your opponent controls to face down defense position, and if you do, they cannot change their battle position, which is like a pseudo floodgate trap hole. We have Enneacraft Archetype, light machine pendulum flip effect monster, 3k attack, 2900 defense, level 9, scale 0. Same 2 effects with salvation counter this time. Same summon effect. The second effect is when your opponent activates a card or effect with an effect that would destroy a card you control. Quick effect, you can change this face down defense position monster to face up defense position. This turn, your monsters and Enneacraft spells cannot be destroyed by card effects. And the third effect is each time a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard while you control this flip face-up card, inflict 900 damage to your opponent. So this is, like I said, this is where I think it gets really strong, because if this deck has the ability to flip multiple of the burn cards face up in one go, you can very quickly just kill your opponent and like fast. Like 900 damage per hit is pretty strong, because this basically means you only have to hit your opponent 9 times. Moving on to the spells, the deck, crazy enough, has a field spell amongst all things. So we have the City of Sin Investigation, Enneapolis. This card is always treated as an Enneacraft card, so it can be searched off of literally any of the guys, because when they're flipped face up, they search an Enneacraft card, but also a bunch of them can reveal any Enneacraft card and then add one at random to hand, which I also want to point out that it's similar to like My Friend Pearly, where if you just reveal 3 of the same card, it doesn't matter how random it is. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. The first effect is you can target any number of Enneacraft Pendulum monsters you control, return them to the hand, so they just recycle themselves. Second effect is if an Enneacraft Pendulum monster you control is flipped face up during the main phase, you can target one of them and either return it to the hand or place it in the Pendulum zone. And the third effect is during the end phase, remove all Sin Investigating counters on your field, and if you do, your opponent takes 900 damage for each counter removed. Keep in mind, it does say all Sin Investigating counters, not the other counter, the Salvation counter. It's removing specifically the Sin Investigating counters. But for each counter, yeah, the deck is going to very quickly be able to rack up these counters, burn you, and then they're going to also burn you for anytime you add cards from deck to hand off of card effect. Anytime monsters hit the graveyard on your field, they're going to burn you for that as well. And then what's really cracked about this is if at any point your Enneacraft monsters get flipped face up, like during your turn, this can return them to hand. They are not once a turn, so they can use their effect to summon themselves or another monster in hand back into the face down defense position. So they could just flood the fucking board with a bunch of guys that basically says, if at any point you just do something in the game, I'm going to flip this guy and I'm going to do a thing. I'm going to put a counter on another guy, and then I'm going to just be ready to blow you up in terms of life points. The final spell is Enneacraft Release. It is a normal spell. You can only activate 1 card with this name once per turn, so it's a hard once a turn. The first effect is place 1 Enneacraft Pendulum monster from your deck into the Pendulum zone, and then the second effect is if this card is in your graveyard except the turn it was sent there, you can banish it and add 1 Enneacraft monster from your face-up extra deck back to your hand. So the perks of this is like, this card basically makes it so if you open like 4 Enneacraft monsters and like this card, you can activate this card and put the one maybe you're missing into the pen zone. Use that pen zone effect to then reveal 3 cards, most likely 3 copies of the field spell, to then make sure that you guarantee get it in your hand, and then activate the field spell, which then in turn will also just be able to do whatever the fuck it wants. And then you just use the other 4 cards in your hand to just put bodies on board, and then you just tell your opponent good luck. Like, if you activate anything, fuck you. Okay, so let's talk real here, right? These cards at face value seem very strong, and honestly they are, but there's too many of them. This isn't something that I noticed myself. This is something that a buddy of mine kind of brought to my attention. There are a lot of starters, but at the end of the day, the deck does rely on your opponent playing the game in a very specific way, that if they don't, or if, say, they have the interactions that you just aren't prepared for, then it's not going to do much, unfortunately. But there's just a lot of them, and there's not a whole lot to, like, facilitate the plays. Like, the obvious play here is, like, you know, you have, like, the guy that gets, like, the counters, right? And the counters rack up, so then you can like burn your opponent. But you don't have like a lot of ways to flip the cards on your turn unless you activate one of the book cards that flips a card from face down to face up. And then another thing I've noticed is, and granted they may have just not revealed the card yet, but there's no card talking about the salvation counters. Like, we have half of the archetype racking up these salvation counters, but we don't have anything interacting with those salvation counters. We have the field spell interacting with the investigation counters, but nothing interacting with salvation. Now again, they may have just not, you know, revealed the card yet, because they just revealed another Heck of Hands card long after we've already seen all the other Heck of Hand cards. So there's a good chance we'll see another Enneacraft card in like a week or two. Another thing to note here is, so the summon effect is not once a turn, as we've already discussed. They also just don't have to tell you what they're summoning in face down defense, because it just special summons a monster from hand in face down defense position. It's not like they have to reveal that information. So they can go like effective one of the guys in hand, shuffle their hands, because I mean they don't want to make it obvious that maybe they're summoning the one that they're revealing, and then they summon a guy in face down defense position, and Lord fucking knows which one they set. So it's really hard to play around this when you don't know what they set. So you just like activate a card and they go, oh, effect, flip face up. And I do think this is kind of unique, where even though they're face down, they have the ability to activate effects face down to be able to flip themselves face up. And this is like an interaction we haven't seen since Deus Ex Crawler or whatever. Like, that's like really the only flip monster that activates face down, as far as I'm aware of. So this is like something that hasn't really been explored by Konami. So it's an interesting archetype, and I do see the flaws, but I also see this has a lot of potential in the right hands. But I am curious to hear what you all think down in the comment section below, so definitely don't forget to leave a like on this video, and also subscribe to the channel if you're not already and you like competitive-based content. And yeah, I'm curious, what do y'all think about the Enneacraft archetype, and what do you think about it versus Heck of Hands, in terms of like which archetype do you think is better just mechanically? And with that, I'll see you all in the next video. See ya.